All right, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie Wagner. I'm the director of the Early Childhood Clinical Program and licensed clinical psychologist here at the Child Study Center. Today, we are going to talk about special time, and the webinar is titled Just 5 Minutes a Day to Keep Child Behavior Problems Away. And I'll be getting into all of this during my talk. So when thinking about kind of habits and routines and health-related habits, there's this quote from this author entitled saying, "Small habits make a big difference." And if you think about it, there are many daily routine things we do each day. We brush our teeth, we try to drink a certain amount of water, we might take vitamins, we wash our hands, all designed to help our health, prevent germs, and keep us feeling physically good. There are more kind of daily routines that many of us adopt for physical health and well-being, but there are also suggestions for mental health and well-being. In thinking about why we do this and why prevention is so important, I really like this quote from Ben Franklin and these pictures to illustrate. So Franklin said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." And these pictures are a reminder to parents that, especially with young kids, there's some baby proofing and toddler proofing that is involved to prevent a mess, right? And these pictures are reminders of what happens when that doesn't happen, when the prevention's not in place, and that the cleanup and the responding to these types of problems is a lot more work than it would be to simply put paint and put other materials out of reach. Um, One talk that I'm going to be, or practice that I'm going to be encouraging you to adopt is really thinking about the time you spend with your child, how you spend it, and thinking about in particular special playtime. So today's focus really is going to be on how special playtime is just invaluable in preventing and reducing problematic behaviors in younger kids and school-age children. We'll be covering a number of topics, including, wait, I already play with my kid. How is this different from what I already do? We'll cover a little bit of scratching the surface of does it work and what's the evidence, and then give you some applied skills, right? Like, how do I do this? What skills do I use? How do I set it up? And how do I get started? So parents and play. Whenever I'm introducing the idea of special time or special playtime, parents are usually thinking or saying, well, I already play with my kid. And that's absolutely true. In fact, kind of recent stats show that on average, parents spend about 30 minutes daily with younger kids. So these are 6 and under, and are engaging in play tasks during this time. We also know that play looks a little bit different across development and how we play, how much it's led by us, how much we're participants. From infancy and toddlerhood, when we're really helping those little guys explore their senses and explore touch, to doing pretend play and imaginative play in preschool, and then on to games with rules and possibly more independent play in older kids. And that the way that we engage with kids varies across their development too, often depending upon what developmental stage they're in. How many parents spend time playing with their children, there are some barriers. That this can be cultural and value-based in terms of how children should develop, how much time should be devoted to play, and also time constraints, right? There are more working parents than in previous generations, and there's more families with 2 parents working. And there's more families where mothers are employed outside of the home than previous families. And this all contributes to a hard time fitting it in, and sometimes play is the thing that really drops off. Notably, the Surgeon General in 2024 really made this announcement about how parent stress is impacting families and impacting children, and a social and public health concern, and really saying that time from demands and work and child rearing are contributing to parent stress. And notably, parent stress and time constraints can interfere with play and spending quality time with children. However, play and child-led play has this effect of improving child behavior, improving concerns, improving parent-child connections. So we're in this bit of a bind. So when thinking about what special playtime is, the value of it, how to fit it in, and contrasting it with regular play, special playtime is brief. It's designed to be something that's high quality and short. So just 5 minutes of this really prescribed playtime is effective at changing behavior and preventing bigger problems from developing. This often is hard for busy families, yet still doable to on some level. Special playtime also differs from regular play in that special playtime is really child-driven and child-led. The adult that's joining is not in the role of teaching, so helping the child recognize letters or numbers, or helping the child figure out how to put together a Lego kit or what puzzle piece gets connected. And adults often teach by asking questions, giving instructions, and they do that within play. Special playtime differs in that a parent would not be doing those things at that time. And really, there are few times in a child's day where a child is able to have full autonomy and make choices and be in charge and in control. And this gives this protected time to a child when most of the day is driven by getting through the daily grind, getting out the door in the morning with the morning routine, getting ready to wind down and get to bed on time in the evening. So this really carves out this small yet important time where the child has that control. It's purposeful and structured. It's not spontaneous in the sense that, oh, there's some time before dinner, let's pick up some toys, or oh, we started this game of hide and seek, or oh, this looks interesting, I'll join you with that. It's something that's set up in a different way without the spontaneity that often happens when parents are engaging with their children. So it's done in a more purposeful, mindful way, and that allows it to be with less distractions, right? And in today's world, we're doing a lot of multitasking with different demands, whether that's preparing a meal, whether that's kind of responding to an email or an alert or something for a job. We are constantly multitasking. And during this time, really, it's purposeful in that the only task is play and the only task is connection. And regular play, because it's not so time limited, it takes place in a multitasking world, and it's not without these other distractions that oftentimes get in the way. The other really important piece of special playtime is that in addition to it being short, time limited, the child in charge, you're using specific communication skills. You're talking to your child in a specialized way, in a way that's going to really bring up the quality of the interaction, and really allow for a lot of connection. And these skills are used in a number of therapies as a way to build up a relationship. Another question I get a lot is, well, does this work? Like 5 minutes? Can 5 minutes do a lot? And there's a lot of evidence to support special time. It is a core component of a therapy called parent-child interaction therapy, or PCIT. And this is a really specialized behavioral therapy that has an overwhelming amount of research support. It originally was developed to address child behavioral problems. However, research over time has shown a ton of utility addressing a wide array of problems. So just with the short list here, PCIT has evidence to reduce problematic behavior and parenting stress. It also improves behavioral and emotional regulation in young kids and has applications for kids who are more anxious, have more mood concerns, have experienced different types of adversity. So it really is quite effective. And in addition to a lot of research studies demonstrating the benefits, it's on a number of best practices lists. For instance, the Center for Disease Control cites it as one of a couple behavioral therapies for children with ADHD in early childhood. So it's a core component of a number of child therapies, and it's really effective in kind of other populations as well, non-clinic populations. So now that you know a little bit about what it is, why to do it, how habits can be really valuable, I'm going to get into a little bit of the specifics. I'm going to go over what the skills are and then how you set up for the skills. So the skills to communicate with a child during special playtime can be remembered by the acronym PRIDE or PRIDE skills to help you remember what they are. So the P in PRIDE stands for praise. And that is really about complimenting a child's specific behavior. And with pride skills and with praise, we're really talking about specific or labeled praise, meaning letting a child know exactly what you liked. Praise, when it immediately follows a behavior you want to see, increases that behavior. So praising a child for coloring neatly or taking their time on a picture or staying calm when their tower fell over helps build up that skill. It gives positive feedback and gives the young child the momentum they need to keep going. Being really specific about that praise and labeling it is what makes it so effective, because in that child learns exactly what to do more of it. It also feels good. So praise helps children feel good that the adult is noticing and appreciating good things that they've done. And it helps the parent feel good because they are connecting in a positive way. It also helps kids start to internalize their feedback they're getting from other environments and feel really good about themselves. So a couple of examples of really good, specific, and labeled praise would be, good job putting the block on the tower, or I like how you're coloring on the paper. They're all letting the child know exactly what the adult liked, and that's the P in pride. The R in pride is for reflect. And this is a way where parents or caregivers would either repeat or paraphrase something the child has just said. And this is really important because it keeps the child in charge of the conversation. The child is now leading the conversation and in control of what else they say and whether they say more. It can be a way for them to organize their thoughts and how they're going to communicate. It also sends this really critical and important message to the child that the adult is listening and fully understands and hears what they're saying. It improves communication, and also for young kids can help them improve their speech and improve grammar and their knowledge of different concepts. And this is a pretty simple skill, where it really is just kind of repeating back. So a couple examples, the child saying like, oh, this is a pirate ship. And the parent could just say, this, it is a pirate ship. Or a child might say, I'm making a rainbow. And the parent could say a rainbow. So they're either repeating all of what the child said or a portion. For older kids, sometimes paraphrasing is helpful, so it feels a little more natural. But either way, it's a way to show listening. And that's R. R is for reflect. The next skill is I. I is for imitate. And that's this idea that play is more fun when others are involved. So the adult joining in the fun and doing what the child does, sitting on the floor, playing with the toys too. It helps the child feel like what I'm doing is something that someone else also finds worth doing, and it makes it more enjoyable. It's also really good for kids developing play skills. So in early childhood, children are still trying to figure out, how do I play alongside others or with others? And it can help kids at both steps of the journey where they're learning, oh, what's it like to play side by side and in parallel with another? It can also help them learn, well, what does it mean to work together to build a tower or build a tunnel or put a train track together? And it feels good because it feels like what they're doing is worth someone else repeating. So a couple examples, and this is something that, especially for younger children, an adult really verbally acknowledging that they're doing that can be really helpful so the child really gets the message. But maybe a child is drawing something like a rocket ship, and a parent says, well, I'm going to draw one too. Or a child building a tower and a parent also putting a block on, and so they're taking turns putting the blocks on. And these would be both ways to imitate and join in with the child. The next pride skill is D, and D stands for describe. And this is a really specific type of description. This is describing the things the child does. So it's narrating, sports casting, or sports commenting is also what it's called. It's another way to provide focus and positive attention to a child, help them understand different concepts and vocabulary, and it can help a younger child organize their play, slow them down, help them stay focused at the task at hand. And it's just like it sounds, right? If you think of sports commenting a young kid while they're playing. Oh, you're bringing that train around the curve. You added another level to the tower. It's talking about something they just did in the moment, and that really does help them organize their play. And it may feel awkward at first and kind of unusual because it is a specialized skill. Kids usually really enjoy this, and it does really add to their ability to sustain attention and just their knowing that like someone's watching. And then the last but not least skill is E, and that's for enjoy. And that's really being authentic and genuine and finding ways to demonstrate through both words and actions that you're having a good time and enjoying the time. Young children enjoy physical touch, they enjoy warmth, they enjoy enthusiasm. And so figuring out the right mix of this for your own style and for your child. And this could be as simple as smiling, laughing, showing warmth with your facial expressions, or clapping, high five, thumbs up, things that demonstrate this is fun for me. I like this. With younger kids, it's great to pair it with a little bit of physical touch. That can be really regulating to those little wiggly ones with a little pat on the back or rub. And keeping the tone of voice animated, warm, something that they're going to feel like this is fun and my parent is enjoying this. And so that's the E in pride. We're going to talk a little now that we've gone over the skills. Well, how do you set this up for success, right? And there's a really important ways to set it up for success because this is a kind of scripted play. This is a routine. It isn't spontaneous play. And you want to keep the child in charge and build up some positive momentum. So part of it is picking toys that work well. There are some toys that are great, but they're great for teaching and helping the child learn concepts. There are some toys that are great, but they're great outdoors. So the idea would be to hold off on things that can be a problem and things that it would be hard to keep the child in charge by using the pride skills that I went through. So messy toys are sometimes a tough one for this, right? If you're trying to keep the child in control and follow what the child's doing, you want to make sure what they're doing is things you generally want to see. Things like paint and Play-Doh and things that could create a big mess are hard to keep the child in control. Outdoor toys, balls, bats, things that could get out of hand and break things also are hard to keep the child in control, especially for those energetic and exuberant kids. And toys with rules, board games, kits where you have to build something a certain way in a certain order. It gets hard not to slip into the teaching role and into the, well, I'm going to teach my child how to play games that involve taking turns or involve following rules. And so those are really ones that are good to put aside. The toys that are the best are things that are favorites of the child, but also ones that are kind of creative and free form. So things like blocks, magnet tiles, paper and crayons, old school toys like Mr. Potato Head and Lincoln Logs, things that don't have to be done a certain way. Train tracks and cars, those are all good toys. You want to make the play space seem inviting. So almost creating an invitation to play. So figuring out where you're going to have it, whether it's a table and chairs or a rug, and taking some of the toys out of their containers. If you're playing with pretend food, it might be setting up some plates and cups and putting some food out. If you're building, maybe, putting a few things together to get that started or a few train tracks together. It's almost helping the child imagine what they could do with the toys. The other really important thing in making this purposeful is putting things into do not disturb. So putting parent devices into do not disturb for those 5 minutes, turning off and taking away any access to screens the child has. Screens are just so distracting, even small alerts, where that can take away from the interaction that's going on and the good stuff that's going on. So really making this like the only purpose is play. And then there are other distractions. There are siblings, there are, other family members, there are other toys and other things the child may like, and trying to reduce those as much as possible. So setting the siblings up with something to do, whether that's an audiobook or a toy they can do independently, and switching times, because this is something that's about an individual parent and an individual kid and not about kind of like all three together. It's specific for a child's behavior and the child's relationship with the parent. And then the other piece is, kind of if the child sees something that's not the best toy, like all of a sudden they want to paint, then that can become a power struggle or can become problematic. So the more that the play space is clear of things that don't make good toys for the time and just full of the things that you want the child to be doing, the better success you're going to have. And then the hard part about this is keeping it going in the world where 5 minutes seems so small, and yet most people don't have any free time. So parents that have the most success starting this habit are one that think about, well, where in the day could I put it? Could I put it right before stories at night? Or we tend to have extra time in the morning. Maybe we could do it right before we put our coats on, something where it's embedded in something that happens predictably so that it's not just free floating. I think families that want to start this, that have, some good start, but have trouble making it stick, are ones that have it at different points. The making it a habit also lets the child know when to expect it, what's gonna what might go well, and then, that even when it ends, and if they feel sad that it's gonna end, that it'll happen again the next day. So hopefully this gives you a sense of what special time is, the research behind it, and kind of how you might think about setting it up and communicating with your child during this time. I'm going to kind of wrap up now and see if there are any questions. Okay, I see some good questions. So one question is older kids. So this kind of depends on the ages. I do think like older kids that might be able to navigate things like Lego kits or things that would be harder for a younger kid can be okay. You can be less strict on the toy requirements. So the question is, do you have any recommendations for older boys? And I think, with older kids, they might find things like Mr. Potato Head, Lincoln Logs, Magnetiles immature. So thinking about like, okay, well, maybe they like things like STEM kits or, kind of the smaller Lego kits. So some kids can do well with that, like the snap circuits, those types of things. For much older kids, you might think about really relaxing what the toy requirements are and thinking about, well, what would they do on their own? And maybe I can just catch them and join in some of their activities, trying to use these skills in the spirit. But for slightly older kids, I think about like things like Lego kits, robotics kits, snap circuits. And then another good question was, how to manage with multiple kids. And that's challenging. That's really tough. If it is a family where there's a second caregiver, sometimes they can rotate and that can help. Sometimes something like an audio book, where the other child that's waiting has something where they have headphones and they have something that they like that they want to always get access to, can help. Sometimes screens, depending upon a family's preference for a kid that's not doing that, though that obviously can create a problem. So it really depends. I've had families also have success if like one child is still at napping age to do it with the other child, or something where one child tends to be occupied. But typically with multiple kids, you would want to set up the structure so you spend time with one and then you spend time with the other. So it would be a total of 10, 15 minutes, depending upon how many children. Otherwise, if you're doing it just with one kid because you're trying to work on their behavior, it can be really problematic. But those are great questions, and it is challenging with multiple kids. All right, well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Before we conclude, we'd love for you to check out our Child Center Study Center Early Childhood Instagram account. We share valuable insights and resources on parenting young children. You can quickly follow us by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link in the chat. And thank you. It was nice to speak with you all today.